What's good, folks? Sorry for the late start, but we got another show for you guys. It's going to be a quick, short show as well. Again, we got Tim, Dula, Josh coming to break it down. We got a great show. We're going to be talking about the Dallas. We're going to be talking about Carolina situation, but very first, we're going to touch on Kaepernick starting week 6. Tim, what it is?
I'm gonna keep this real. I'm not judging Kaepernick on his protest. Brave man. My decision on him being the quarterback is not about that. Even though I do respect his protest, my decision is basically all on football, X's and O's. And I'm gonna say this: he is a great athlete. He's not a great quarterback. I don't care him going to the Super Bowl. He had a great defense. He had great legs that got him there. Ever since Harbaugh left, he has went down the hill. There's been talks about him not beating the defense, but I will say I've always said that he fits so great in Chip Kelly's offense because look at Mariota. Mariota's not a great quarterback, great athlete. Okay, I think Kaepernick can fit his offense, but there's still a no. You still need to know how to read the defense. Kaepernick won't have the same type of defense he had a couple of years back. He won't have the same type of offense, but Carlos Hyde. So it's going to be different. It's going to take time for him to get adjusted as a starting quarterback. I'm not gonna predict where he's going to be at. I do know that they had a contract issue where if he got hurt and he was I guess they do an evaluation on him next year in April, and if he wasn't healthy, the 49ers will owe him about like $22 million, and I don't think that's worth it for him to start. But if they get that worked out, not a bad thing to see what he has left in the tank.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for him. I mean, I just like you said, Tim. I agree. Like he's not a great quarterback. It's the athlete qualifications that makes him such a highlight reel quarterback and what he was raved about. You take away most of his big runs, and his montage tape on YouTube is probably 2 minutes long, if that. He doesn't really have many down the field passes that he's remembered for, or many passes in general. He might have had a great arm or a great zip to the ball, but it means jack when you don't have accuracy behind it. For the most part, though, like you said, all politics aside, I'm rooting for the guy. I'd like to see him flourish and at least keep a life in the NFL. But all the reports about a dead arm, and if a dead arm compared to what he has now, like you said, a depleted O-line and no defense to really keep the offense fresh, it's going to be kind of a little sight to see. And I know all eyes are going to be on that game. It's probably going to be America's game just for that political reason. But so I hope he does well. But in the end, I think it's just another bump in the road. He'll be going soon.
I'm usually very serious, about my football, but let me preface this by my comments right now. I'm gonna be cracking jokes the entire time. I really am. Here's the thing.
Keep it real. Keep it real.
I mean, listen, I was saying before the show, it's like some things are just easy targets, and I just can't help myself. And this is an easy target. Let me tell you why. The worst thing the 49ers could have ever done was, run Jim Harbaugh out of town. I'll tell you why. Because Colin Kaepernick has the football IQ that JaVale McGee has a basketball IQ. That's saying a lot. If you've watched Shaq and the Fool, JaVale McGee is an absolute crap show on defense. And I feel that way about Kaepernick as a quarterback. I think he's terrible. And while, we talk about, praising and, rooting, listen, I got to be consistent. I cracked on Tebow for being a terrible quarterback. I'm going to do Kaepernick. Here's what makes him terrible. You have to understand, most big boy quarterbacks are able to, look at the field, scan the field before the pre-snap, make a read and say, okay, there are 8 men in the box. I got this run. Let me check out of this. This is a bad idea. Unfortunately, Colin, for whatever reason, one way or the other, doesn't have that down completely. So what Jim Harbaugh did, and it's worked, is that he's like, all right, Colin, here we go. Here's a run and a pass. If you look at the field, if you see something you don't like, check out to that run, you're good to go. And if all else fails, just run the ball. I show that clip of when he had a wide open receiver. He was I think the safety was 15 yards off maybe. and he just didn't check out of the play. He did not look and see, well, gee, this guy's 15 yards off. There's no corner on him. Man, maybe I should check out of this and throw the ball to him. He didn't do it. He just ran the play because that is all he knows as a quarterback.
Right.
I said this once and I'll say it again. If the 49ers, for whatever reason, go anything above 6-10, I'll call that a miracle. Because whether it was Gabbert or Kaepernick, both of those guys were pretty much bringing the 49ers to have their pick of Deshaun Kaiser, Deshaun Watson, or Brad Kaya come April. Because both of them are terrible as quarterbacks. What I'll say about I'll say this though. He did rework his contract. I think they reworked his contract to be a one-year deal with a player to kind of get out of that. And I think that was the catalyst for promoting him because let's be honest, playing Gabbert, there are no more excuses for him. You know.
All right, moving on to the next topic.
Well, sorry, 49ers fans, your team's terrible. My bad.
Just pick every team defense on fantasy against them. You'd be all right.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about what's going on with the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants. Carolina's 1-4. The Giants are 2-3. I know this is not easy for you, Josh. So we're gonna be kind of cool and calm for you, okay? I started with the Carolina Panthers. 1-4. Cam Newton with the head injury. He had a concussion last week only because he took that 2-point conversion touchdown so easy, like he's not gonna get touched. And this is the problem. You know, first of all, I'm gonna blame management for getting rid of Josh Norman. You don't fix what's not broken. You got rid of I'll say a top 10 cornerback in Josh Norman. He earned his contract last year. He's playing okay with the Redskins. He could have been very good for Carolina. Now teams will be able to. We just saw Julio Jones going for 300 yards on Carolina's secondary. That wasn't going to happen last year. You understand? So that's a problem. Another issue is Cam Newton himself. You're not focused. I understand what the politics talks and all that stuff is going on. It's a distraction, but in order for you to be in this league and succeed, you have to have a selfish bone that thinks about you and only football. Not everything outside of football, any issue, that's something outside of football. Don't mix it on your daily job. And that's the problem. He's mixing what's going on in the world, the protests, on his daily job, and it's affecting. People are judging him, what side to choose, X, Y, Z. Forget about all that. Worry about your football game. That's all you can do. You only can please one person. One person is important to please. That's yourself. Not everybody else. Not me, not anybody on Fury, yourself. So Cam Newton needs to focus his game, put his focus back on football, become that quarterback that went to the Super Bowl last year as the MVP, and do not think about the media or whatever anybody got to say. Whatever you want to talk about outside of football, let it be at that time, not when it comes to your games.
Yeah, from my visual standpoint, and this is just clearly from what I see on the outside and not really delved into the Panthers fan base, they plugged in and they over-evaluated a few of their defensive personnel, thinking they could just plug them in from an athletical standpoint, and it just hasn't panned out, just plain and simple. Another thing, like Tim said, you got rid of Josh Norman. I'm one that likes to roast Josh Norman and troll him to the utmost end, but to be real here, he's a very good cornerback. He's a great cover corner, and they don't just grow on trees. So that's where they're hurting, and it just showed a couple of weeks ago with Julio putting $3 on him. At the same time, I agree that Cam just doesn't look focused this season. It doesn't look like he prepared well, and it looks like he was just doing all the flashy BS and doing this whole Rambo headband bullcrap now, and he just doesn't look like the same Cam Newton that prepared the 14-2 team a season ago. So that all is adding up and is what's equaling their 1-4 record right now.
Carolina's mystifying because if you look at the rest of their division, it hasn't gotten better. New Orleans is still ass. They're terrible. Tampa Bay is what they are. They're okay at best. The Falcons, they're making some strides, but they're still the Falcons. You can't really count on them. Yes, the Panthers on both sides of the ball. You got to understand, Cam Newton. You would think that they're better with Kelvin Benjamin back. You would think they're better with Devin Funchess emerging. You would think they're better with him having 6'5" and 6'5" on both sides of the field and a 6'5" tight end. You would think all this. I think we're undervaluing Jonathan Stewart. He's been hurt. I don't think they've been able to get a ground game consistently going. I think Cam Newton is their ground game, and I don't think you want your quarterback being your ground game. That's how they get concussed.
Right.
On the other side of the ball, I think they had the idea of, listen, we got a stud front seven. We probably got, if you look at those three linebackers in the 4-3, probably the best three linebackers on the field. We got a premier defense. We got two premier defensive tackles. We got a Coney Ealy. We got a Charles Johnson. We got depth. And so, okay, let's plug some guys in the back four, and it'll be okay. It's not how it works, unfortunately. Josh Norman, although I would not want to lock him up man to man on an elite receiver too often, he does have value in a zone scheme. He knows how to redirect receivers. He knows how to play, and when he gambles, he's usually right.
Right.
When you start two rookie corners, it's growing pains. They cut what's his name, Benny Bernecki or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't just his fault. You got a lot of inexperience back there. I think that's what's happening with Carolina is that just haven't put it together yet. That and Cam Newton kind of we need to see more of a pocket passer Cam than we do flashy. Because the thing is, there's a target on his back now. He's the league MVP.
Yes, he is. Yes, it is. Now let's focus on the New York Football Giants. 2-3. What's the problem? Okay. No doubt.
Okay. No
doubt. I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna be fair with this. I believe the problem.
Be honest. Don't be fair.
No. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Okay, you're right, Josh. I'm gonna say Tom Coughlin not being there. And that's the one thing I said early in the season. First of all, I'm gonna go a little backwards. I've never liked when offensive coordinators become head coach of the full team. I didn't mind if you have your 2-3 leaders and you build upon that, because that's how everybody feeds into the program. Of course, we see that with Jason Garrett. He was an offensive coordinator, but besides Romo Witten, and I think 1 year of Dez, everybody's brand new. Let's go with Mike Shanahan. When he became the head coach, from an offensive coordinator standpoint, he went to the head coach with the Denver Broncos. What happened? Once Elway left, he got shipped out. Now, look at McAdoo. McAdoo has Eli Manning. Eli Manning is a pro. He's a Hall of Famer. Okay, he's going to do whatever it takes to win in his league. But you have guys like Odell Beckham Jr. You have a guy like Victor Cruz who's trying to fight to keep his job. You have a rookie in Shepard. I think on paper, the Giants have the best trio of receivers in the league. Okay. Now, you just accepting what's going on around you. This is something that Tom Coughlin would have not let happen if he had total control. I don't believe he had total control to even discipline Odell Beckham last year. So now when McAdoo's going through the same thing, people are pointing fingers at McAdoo. Maybe he's Mara. Maybe he's Jerry Reese. If you're gonna let the man cook the dinner, at least let him shop for the grocery. Bill Parcells said that. If you're gonna let McAdoo cook this team, let him shop for whatever he wants. You gotta let this man do his job. It's not. That's the problem. And the way this Giant team is going, although Beckham Jr. is embarrassing McAdoo, he's embarrassing Eli Manning, who has brought 2 championships to this league, something that Carmelo Anthony hasn't done. Okay, something that even the great Patrick Ewing hasn't done. Eli has brought 2 rings. So if Eli's saying something, the man, let's embrace it, because he hasn't said nothing in the past. The guys were in check. They had leaders in the squad. Odell Beckham Jr. in his 3rd year should be that type of leader to say, Eli, when you're gone, I'm taking over. I'm going to put that C on my chest. but it's like he has a K on his chest for kid. And that's the wrong letter.
You gotta wrap it up, guys. Make it quick.
All right, yeah. So I understand where you're coming from, but I don't see it so much being on that. So that's not the whole kit and caboodle with the Giants right now. I feel 95% of it, their problem right now is the offensive line, plain and simple. It all boils down to that O-line. The first 2 weeks, the defense won us our games. Our offense and our offensive line were just barely maintaining, and it looked okay from there. It looked a little promising, a little optimistic. Okay, yeah, we're building from here. Weeks 3, 4, and 5, WTF. It looked terrible. It looked like Eric Flowers was just recently drafted again, and he was playing, center the whole damn time, and we just moved him to left tackle. We're starting Bobby Hart over there, who's a 6th-round, rookie out of Florida State. So that's not very good formula when you got 2 crashing defensive ends coming towards Eli the whole time, and that makes for some nice one-on-ones with the defensive tackles in a collapsing pocket. He's not getting the time he needs, and he looks terrible because of it. He's restless. He doesn't trust his blind side, and it's making for a disastrous offensive scheme. It's awful, and that's exactly why Odell was getting frustrated. We shouldn't be having these problems. We have the same offensive line basically from last year, maybe 1 or 2 key changes, if anything, and we're going from a top 10 offense to a bottom 5 offense, it seems. I don't understand what the turnaround is and why it's happening, but something needs to change with that O-line really quick, or it's going to be a long season.
I'm going to bring up the elephant in the room, as I like to call it. Everyone talks about the money they spend on defense. I'm not saying the defense is a major problem, but if you're going to spend that much money on defense, especially in the line, you expect a lot more.
Absolutely.
And while, again, this is not a bad defense at all, they could be a lot better. I think it's line play on both sides. I said it before, and Cooper bit my head off. I don't think Eric Flowers is a left tackle. I think he's a right tackle. I don't think he's athletic enough to be a full-time left tackle. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that
he has flashes, and then he just regresses. It's amazing.
Yeah. We talk about my man Odell over there, but you gotta understand, Odell Beckham. I don't think he's the issue. I think Odell is who he is, and I think the Giants are just going through a culture change. They're going from Tom Coughlin, this kind of hard-ass, old-school coach, to Ben McAdoo, a little more progressive, a little more forward-thinking. And Ben McAdoo is not now – so that's the thing. When you're an offensive coordinator, you're just worried about that offense calling plays. Now Ben McAdoo is looking on both sides of the ball, making those game situations. And it's his first time doing it. I think it's just, again – you got to give it a few weeks. All right. If the Giants are 2-7, yeah, I might hit the panic button. Yeah, I might start looking at Eli Manning a little more critically. But they're 2-3, they got a shot. That and the fact that, and this is my last point, everyone in that division has gotten better. That's what's working against the Giants right now. Unlike the Panthers, where everyone in their division isn't that great, I think Dallas has gotten better. I didn't expect that, but they've gotten better. Philadelphia's gotten better, clearly. And Washington, they're there. So,
well, Sean. Speaking of that, I want to give a shout out to my brother and sister Mark and Karen. How about them Cowboys? I mean, let's go on a positive note right here.
We're overtime. We got to move on.
Just one more thing, Sean. Please, one more thing, Sean. Please. We spoke about Cam Newton.
Because
the Panthers, the Giants. How about that Prescott and the Cowboys? Listen, we on a roll, baby. Next quarter, we on a roll.
All right. We're going to
one game at a time.
Next to the final down.
Thank you.
A short game, guys. We'll be right back.
Hold this L.